All right, so now we have a couple more clips here. Domestic news. Stephen Colbert accidentally humiliates CNN. You don't see that every day. So we're going to watch just a few minutes of that. Let's check it out. And then we're going to get to a MAGA story that includes a very colorful reference to former presidential candidate Hillary Clinton, who you might have heard of. And then we're going to go to Liberal Hive Mind. This is a video from earlier today. The market odds just completely shifted to Trump. So it counters what was going on last week where it was going up and up and up. What happened? Well, people found out she was a communist. All right, let's check it out. Let's go to the clips.
Stephen Colbert accidentally humiliated CNN and their primetime anchor, Caitlin Collins, who has stage 4 RBF, resting you-know-what face, after he made a comment so absurd that his own audience couldn't help but laugh at him.
Trump has kind of been thrown on his heels by this, and he's not really sure how to go after Vice President Harris. He knew his attack lines on President Biden. He really has struggled with how to go after someone who's 20 years younger than him, who is a different gender, a different race. It's kind of been this moment where he has not been able to coalesce around a single attack line.
I know you guys are objective over there, that you just report the news as it is. No, I know. CNN makes a... I know
that's supposed to be a laugh line?
I wasn't supposed to be, but I guess it is.
Even the loser liberals who watch Stephen Colbert's show, even the dedicated ones who got tickets to be in the studio audience, know that the Cloud News Network is a joke. And obviously so is Camelface, who is pandering to the Democrat Party's new base, the you-know-whos.
Hi, my name is Sally Hartman. I'm a volunteer with the Center for Worker Justice. Okay. I want to know, when you become president, would you be committing to close immigration detention centers?
Absolutely, on day one.
Not closing the border, of course. Closing the detention centers, keeping the border wide open, opening it even wider if that's even possible. That way, the hundreds of thousands of criminal invaders who cross the border every month, month after month, year after year under the Biden administration, under the Harris administration, then they won't have the inconvenience of being detained and identified. This way, they could just come on in and make themselves at home wherever they want. So that's her top priority, and the only other policy that she has even discussed over the last 3 weeks that she has been the new Democrat nominee has been the idea that she stole from Donald Trump about not taxing tips on waiters, waitresses, and service workers, which is being hailed as a brilliant idea now from the liberal media. This from CBS News. Vice President Kamala Harris is rolling out a new policy position, the only policy position other than welcoming in the criminal invaders, saying she'll fight to end taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers. But when Donald Trump first came up with the idea a couple months ago, CBS News said former President Donald Trump's vow to stop taxing tips would cost the federal government up to $250 billion over 10 years. What makes this even more absurd is Kamala Harris cast the deciding vote to pass a piece of Orwellian legislation 2 years ago called the Inflation Reduction Act, which obviously did the exact opposite of its name, as many bills do. It increased inflation. Because when there's a tie in the Senate, then the vice president votes to break the tie since it's so close. And in that bill, there's a provision to specifically increase the number of IRS agents to make sure that service workers are paying taxes on their tips, because it's not so much anymore, but people still do tip a lot using cash. And so obviously a lot of the service workers aren't going to declare that as income. And so the IRS is upset about that. And so in that bill was a provision for them to try to ensure that they're paying their taxes, or to come up with some formula to estimate the supposed number of tips that they got. And then if they were underreporting, then they were going to have to pay more. And so she cast the deciding vote for the IRS to start snooping around people's taxes to make sure they're paying taxes on their tips. But now her first piece of legislation that she's promising to roll out as president is an idea she stole from President Trump to do the exact opposite. And this is the current cover of Time magazine. They're trying to recreate that famous Obama hope image. but she didn't actually do an interview with Time Magazine, which is customary. When you're going to be on the cover of Time Magazine, it's because they sit down and interview you. But Kamala Harris is not doing interviews, any interviews. This from the Washington Post. As Harris has learned from Biden, avoiding interviews is a good strategy. This from the New York Times. Kamala Harris isn't giving interviews. Any questions? Critics say the vice president has been too cautious with the press. Her supporters think it's the right strategy at the right time. So she's been the Democrat nominee for 3 weeks now after the coup within the Democrat Party. And she hasn't sat down for a single interview with anyone from the media. All she's doing is doing rallies and reading teleprompter scripts. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is doing what political candidates are supposed to do. He's doing interviews, he's holding press conferences, and earlier this week, he did a 2-hour-long interview with Elon Musk on Twitter, on the Twitter Spaces, or the X Spaces, which is their audio chat feature. And there were some technical difficulties because there were so many people tuned in that the system had a hard time, and so it was delayed. But then the fake news headlines started rolling out saying that Trump rambles and slurred his way through the Elon Musk interview, calling it an unmitigated disaster. Now, it did sound like he was slurring at times, and anybody who works for the mainstream media, these billion-dollar corporations, either should have known or should have asked somebody who would have known before publishing ridiculous headlines saying that he was slurring throughout the interview and that something must be wrong with him, because there are often audio issues when systems are overloaded, and there were over 1 million people listening live just to the Twitter stream. Not to mention all the other people were actually listening to restreams, because there were a lot of YouTubers who were restreaming that interview to their audience. I saw streams with 80,000, 100,000 people. So there was well over 1 million people listening just on the Twitter app alone, overloading it, the biggest live stream that they've ever had. And so there were some audio compression issues that did at times make it sound like he was slurring. But Donald Trump himself was recording it, or his team was recording it. And if you listen to those clips, it sounded perfectly fine. The media is just furious that Donald Trump could do 2-hour rallies and 2-hour interviews, while Kamala Harris won't even answer a single question. And of course, Elon Musk offered Kamala to come on X, to come on Twitter and do a Spaces, do a live interview with him, which of course she will never do. And the lunatics in the White House press corps are demanding that the government do something to suppress the free, it really is only freer speech on Twitter. It still isn't actually free speech. There's still some individuals who haven't been restored. There's still some tweets that use some words that hurt certain people's feelings that do violate the rules and then get taken down. But it is much better. But just to be clear, it's not a free speech platform. It's a freer speech platform. But the clowns in the White House press corps very upset that Elon has loosened the rules and demand that the government do something.
Elon Musk is slated to interview Donald Trump tonight on X. I don't know if the president is going to tune in. Feel free to say if he is or not. But I think that misinformation on Twitter is not just a campaign issue. It's a America issue. What role does the White House or the president have in sort of stopping that, or stopping the spread of that, or sort of intervening in that? Some of that was about campaign misinformation, but it's a wider thing, right?
Yeah, no, and you've heard us talk about this many times from here, about the responsibilities that social media platforms have when it comes to misinformation, disinformation. Don't have anything to read out from here about specific ways that we're working on it, but we believe that they have the responsibility. Look, it is. I think it is incredibly important to call that out as you're doing. I just don't have any specifics on what we have been doing internally.
Well, it's obvious that you're part of the conspiracy trying to take down Elon and Twitter through lawfare and advertiser boycotts. And you're ignoring the fact that they actually have a very good feature built in for fact checking called the Community Notes feature, which regularly does add notes at the bottom of tweets when people do post fake news and misinformation.
Musk's rise as a Trump backer comes as X has turned into a haven for the spread of misinformation. Since buying the site almost 2 years ago, Musk's site has struggled to control it on topics ranging from the election to the assassination attempt against Trump.
Actually, it was Democrats who spread misinformation, disinformation about the assassination attempt against President Trump by doubting that he was even shot at all. And is it just me, or is it truly bizarre that that story has been dumped down the memory hole? You would think that an attempted assassination that came within millimeters of being successful of a leading presidential candidate, former president, would actually be a bigger deal instead of something that the media talked about just for a few days and then dumped down the memory hole. And thank God it wasn't successful. And interestingly enough, it did give us perhaps one of the most iconic images in American history, which of course I put on a t-shirt, which you should order from my online store at markdice.com or click the link in the
What's up, guys? Your boy Benny. I know this is going to come as a massive shock to you, but conservative women are hotter, more intelligent, and make for better moms and just better members of society than brain-damaged, mentally ill liberal women. I know. You're going to be so upset when I tell you these truths, but they are true. It's actually proved verifiably, in fact. This image is perfectly encapsulated this piece of data. Check this out. This is the data of the number of left-wing white women who are on medications, antidepressants, and so on. It's pretty horrifying, in fact. And that explains, of course, Kamala Harris, support for Joe Biden, never really budging with this group of people, and the fact that you can be completely mind-controlled. Now, on the other side of things, you have beautiful conservative women and mothers like Paulina Luna, who's a member of Congress, sitting here with on the beaches of her district in Pinellas County here in Florida, a district that was flipped from blue to red and is going to stay red because Paulina Luna represents the county beautifully and is herself a wonderful person. Paulina Luna is someone that I consider a friend, and so I was really excited, ladies and gentlemen, when I saw Paulina Luna in my timeline today. Doing what a lot of people do in Florida. This is the video that went viral. You can see 5 million views, actually, of Paulina Luna modeling a swimsuit. This is a MAGA swimsuit. Paulina Luna is, in fact, a model. I know it's going to come as a shock to you. Paulina Luna is a model, and therefore she wore swimsuits because she lives in Florida, and when women go to the beach, they wear swimsuits. You see? Yes. So this is the video. It's doing the rounds. This video was from 2016, and it's a MAGA video of the Congresswoman in a swimsuit. Now, this, as you will guess, has offended the libs. I've heard this was a member of Congress, says this individual online. A terrific one, says Matt Gaetz. Once again confirming that Republican women are hotter than libtard women. Congresswoman Paulina Luna is officially my favorite Congresswoman. She's getting a lot of love for this. Love her beast mode. God bless America. Also, this account is being Richard Hayana is being destroyed. I've heard this is a member of Cucks for Harris. Dude, bro, why do you look like you're crying? Yes, says the Hodge twins. Yes, the hottest, most base member too. We stand for Paulina Luna. How does a member become based? I know, right? She's a major babe, people are saying. Major babe, Paulina Luna. Yeah, getting effectively destroyed in the Congress comments. Anna Paulina Luna should be working at a Hooters, not in Congress, says Mr. Party Women. Yeah. This woman is smart and beautiful, and you are a sexist. True. Being fit and healthy should be a requirement in Congress. Totally agree. I mean, shouldn't that be the point, right? Anna Paulina Luna responding, saying, I'm confirming that I have indeed worn swimsuits, and you can tell I'm biologically a woman. That's great. Well done. Trigger warning. No AI was used to make this photo. This is Anna Paulina Luna when she was modeling swimsuits. She was a model. I have a confession to make since TikTok Democrats are onto me. I wear bikinis at the beach and mineral sunscreen, as does so many women. I was also featured in Sports Illustrated and Maxim, designed swimsuits and women's shirts. This is Anna Paulina Luna, Congresswoman, Republican Congresswoman. No AI was used in this iconic image of based wife, mother, veteran, and Congresswoman, Anna Paulina Luna. Make hot women great again. Crowns from Lauren Boebert and Matt Gaetz' wife saying, looking good. So this is real then. Yeah, this is definitely real. And you're a U.S. vet, the whole package. Yeah. So she was a model. These are some of her modeling images. Believe in America here, the swimsuit. Anna Paulina Luna modeling and doing what Florida girls do, going to the beach wearing bikinis. This, of course, offends the libs because they need their women to look like this. Yes. When you see a hot woman who actually loves their and votes MAGA. Anna Paulina Luna, not just the beauty, but also the brains. Anna Paulina Luna just torching Hillary Clinton back in the day, alive on Fox News.
Just amazed that with everything going on in the world, we still have Hillary Clinton in the headlines.
Well, she's come back up. She won't go away. She's like herpes.
Okay. That's news that we're breaking here. Not appropriate. Well, we're gonna wrap this segment a little early, Doug, because of some of the language that was used in this segment, and we apologize.
Shut up, Fox News. Shut up, Mr. Anchorman on Fox News. Oh, it's so inappropriate. Anna Paulina Luna led a very successful campaign to get Merrick Garland held in inherent contempt in Congress. She's fearless, and she's single-handedly one of the people who probably destroyed the career of failed Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle. With this line of questioning, ladies and gentlemen, we support Anna Paulina.
Did have knowledge at 5:59 p.m. according to those group chats, did you not?
Of a suspicious individual.
Okay. Chairman, in my opinion, according to some of the testimony today, I feel that you have perjured yourself in some instances. And so I'm going to ask for a full review of the transcripts by staff. And if you find that to be the case, I do ask that you bring perjury charges against the director. I will say this, it is very frustrating, and I've talked to my colleagues and we've said it to your face, that you have been up here basically stonewalling our ability to get the answers to the American people. And what I will also say is that every single member of Congress does not feel safe with you in charge. You have heard that, and I think that we are all sitting ducks with you in directing the Secret Service currently. But more importantly, it sends a message to our adversaries that we are not protected, and we are one of the strongest countries in the world, so you have essentially made us a less safe country because of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, get you a woman who can do both. Get you a woman who can do both. This is the MAGA movement. What used to be called just like being a proud American. Let's make that normal again. Let's make women.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind. You know, I really would love to say it, I really would. trust me when I say I'm struggling with that a little bit. I want so badly to declare this little phony Kamala honeymoon over. It's friggin' over, ladies and gentlemen. I want to say that so bad, but unfortunately, in terms of the actual facts of the matter, we're just not quite there just yet. But I will tell you with at least relative confidence that it certainly seems as though we're headed towards that direction. It seems like the Kamala Harris honeymoon is coming to an end. Let's have a conversation, but before we get into any of it, this video is actually brought to you guys by a sponsor, so let's play that clip. This video is brought to you guys by Ground News. Friends, you know I don't like taking too many sponsorship deals, but this is one that I have no issue with, because this is a company that not only I approve of, but it's a product that I'm signed up for and I actively use. Ground News is the click the link so you can stay informed on all the topics Brian Stelter doesn't want you to do your own research on. A huge thank you to Ground News. Now back to the video. Alright folks, so I guess the headline continues. It's been pretty much the same headline for the last 3 or 4 days. The Kamala campaign's having a little bit of a rough one. You see, the Democrats hyped Kamala Harris up as if she was some sort of divine savior. Well, of course, when you set that high of a bar, you need to at least swing for it. You know, you need to at least land somewhere close. Or at the very least, you know, the candidate has to act a little bit, sell it to the audience. You know, let's call it the Obama mystique. All style, no substance, at least that gets you somewhere. The Democrats sold Kamala as some sort of political rock star, a superstar, you know, kind of like Obama, but obviously she's anything but. She could never carry that torch. You know, in this situation, she needs to be a convincing figure. She needs charisma, and she needs a magical way of words that would essentially allow her to weave her words in a way where she masks the communism that lies beneath the message. But of course, Kamala doesn't have that ability, no. Kamala only has the ability to kind of state things in their very obvious fact of the matter description. A school bus is a school bus, and a school bus drives on the road. You know, that's kind of the Kamala Harris thing. Ukraine is a country in Eastern Europe, and it's on the border with Russia. The passage of time is where time passes. Okay, enough of those, but you pretty much get the point. Kamala doesn't have the ability to describe ideas through metaphor. She just gets straight to the point, and so she's announced her new economic message here, and it just wasn't very slick, now was it? Soviet-style price controls, a brand new big government housing department, I guess, following in the footsteps of socialist nations. You know, she really didn't leave much up to interpretation. She just pretty much said it, and it's kind of funny because that came after 2 weeks of the media gaslighting us, trying to convince us that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, well, they're not far left. No, of course not.
To characterize him as left is so unreal. It's just not what the question. He's right down the middle.
Republicans are trying to frame her as this deep leftist. She's a former prosecutor. She's not only a former prosecutor, she was the AG of the largest Department of Justice in the country other than the real Department of Justice. Prosecutors are not really leftists. They put people in jail for a living, okay? They're pretty moderate. I know the vice president personally. She's moderate.
Even Kamala Harris laughed at the notion back during the 2020 election.
You're very different in the policies that you've supported in the past. You're considered the most liberal United States senator.
Somebody said that, and it actually was Mike Pence on the debate stage. But
yeah, well, actually, the nonpartisan GovTrack has rated you as the most liberal senator.
You know, they don't want to be presented as far left, and so they're constantly and dishonestly running away from the label. Of course, when it's not convenient. Last week, all of a sudden, Kamala Harris was a moderate corporate Democrat out of nowhere, but I guess it didn't last too long, and now the cat's out of the freaking bag. She's a full-on hammer and sickle style Soviet communist. And it's just not looking good. You know, she needs to be convincing people that she's the person for the job, but the perception right now is so negative that even the paid Democrat shills are struggling to get on board.
All right, so price gauging versus gouging, she made a mistake. We noted it. Second, going after corporations is popular. Doing it about inflation is popular. 60% of us believe corporations are to blame for it. The question is, what do you do, right? Blame versus change. So Harris says she's targeting price gouging. I don't really care about gouging, gauging. All right? I don't care. All right. You got to take the level of talent where you find it. We don't have great talent in our politics right now. We got to wait for better people to want to get involved in what is such a poison process. But this is who we got.
Chris Cuomo says we need better people in politics after Kamala Harris mispronounces her own plan. Yeah, no, as Sherlock. And actually, to this better people in politics issue, it's not exactly a difficult one. There's already a better person in the race, a man who goes by the name of Donald J. Trump. You know, funnily enough, this little Chris Cuomo situation might be a microcosm of what's happening at large here. I think a lot of people have been exposed to Kamala. It's been 3 weeks, actually going on a month almost, since she was announced as the candidate. And so people have had their eyes glued to the screen, and it feels as though there's kind of a collective sentiment right now. People are asking themselves, is there a better person for the job? And like I said, the answer is staring them right flat in the face. Yes, there is. And I think that's what's happening. I mean, we're seeing it in the markets. All of a sudden, Polymarket announces that Trump is closing in. Kamala's lead in the odds is down from 10% to now 2% in just one day. I mean, just take a look at this massive surge.
And I will work to pass the first ever federal ban on price gauging on food.
That's a 24-hour presidential odds spike, which of course has an equal inverse effect. If Donald Trump is spiking like this, it means Kamala Harris is tanking in the exact same way. And that's exactly what's happening. This race went from Kamala Harris, can't be beaten, she's the best ever, she's Obama version 2.0, to now pretty much dead even in the odds, and trending clearly towards one side. Kamala Harris is talking about equity and Soviet-style price nonsense, which honestly has people's stomachs turning, and Trump is just straight up killing it. You know, just as per usual, doing what they do in the cultural meme space.
Hello, everyone. I only want you to donate to my campaign if you can afford to. Unfortunately, most of you can't afford to because Joe Biden is a disaster.
You know, just having fun. Videos that are going viral online. That repost that I showed you has almost 2 million views. The original, even more. The Trump campaign is absolutely killing it. Oh, there's also this meme gem from yesterday.
A loaf of bread costs 50% more today than it did before the pandemic. Ground beef is up almost 50%.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Taking clips from Kamala Harris's campaign and slapping their label on it, when the context is just perfect. The Trump campaign, as I said a couple weeks ago, is firing on all cylinders, and the Kamala campaign, even with the biggest push, with all the help in the world, with big frickin' thrusters, they're still landing in a frickin' ditch. They can't get off land. At least that's what the data is starting to indicate. I guess they needed a little bit more than pointing their finger at the opponent, calling their opponents weird.
Weird.
I think in the end they needed a little bit more than that, especially if they were going to be behaving like this at their own rallies. You know, seems pretty weird to me. The whole weird talking point has clearly backfired. It was obviously never going to be enough to distract the American people away from the clear, glaring issue here. And let me give you guys a visual representation of what that glaring issue is. Yeah, that's the problem right over there. These two stink of Karl Marx, and just look at the guy. That cannot be a pleasant odor. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. There's a long history. We've talked about the origins of communism back in the early 1900s and the robber barons who played both sides, and how that's described in books like Tragedy and Hope by Carol Quigley. And they control both sides of the spectrum. And now you're starting to see some of that come into play. The communism has to collide with Trump's MAGA entrepreneurism if they're ever going to get rid of Trump and entrepreneurism and free market feedback, right? There was a lot of talk in that clip about the concept of misinformation, like Elon Musk is bad because there's misinformation. But let me ask you a question. Would misinformation be a real problem if the audience had intellectual self-defense and could challenge it with better facts that represent reality? The answer is no, there would be no problem. So what is the root cause of misinformation in the first place? It is the indoctrination of the audience to be repeating things and not knowing how to think their way through things to find non-contradictory realities. Now, because they took that formulation of critical thinking out of your education, and that's what makes it indoctrination, that plus taking your free will out of it, they have handicapped generations of people around the world with a mental incapacity to be at the same level as the people that are precipitating down the plunder and tyranny and despotism and chaos. So they think for you, you'd be better served rather than learning how to use your own quantum computer. You need some AI Delphi. Now, if you know the history of the Oracle at Delphi, it had a warning outside. It said, know thyself. Basically, if you know yourself and you know how to critically think, you're not going to go into this temple with these priests who charge information from the lady who sniffs the vapors, who they hold as a slave so they can run their racket. And a long, time it went on. And then at some point, people said, you know what, we could probably work this out without going to the vapor lady and paying those priests all that money. Maybe we should just look at the situation and learn to use our brains. So I don't think that is really a capacity that's lost in totality in human history, but it ebbs and flows between people learning to get smart, the time of the Greeks and the Renaissance, people talking about freedom and these emancipation ideas that led to the creation of America. They weren't being widely circulated without a lot of tyranny beating people down all the time in the whack-a-mole situation that we find ourselves in. So we have a day we live in a time and place in the timeline where this disinformation, misinformation, malinformation is all a function of these people can lie to the audience because the audience has not stepped up their own education. And if you expect to be educated by the people holding you prisoner on how to liberate yourself from their situation, you're missing the point of history. There's a big part of history. Most of human history is about people subjugating other people through a variety of means and a variety of locations, but there's a war going on. It's not just a war for your mind. It's a war for your body. It's a war, to control your food, to control your living space, to control your future, to surveil you in a panopticon state with technocratic, all sorts of ones and zeros. So there is a need for us to elevate our awareness beyond the status quo, because the status quo is how we got in the plantation in the first place, doing this thing where we're not so free. So if we want to liberate ourselves, we need to take bold steps. Now, I do have a clip coming up between Candace and Andrew Tate, and that's going to help to illustrate this point. But more to my point, the Say No to the New World Order Summit is coming up. It's coming up in September. This is where you can register for it. It's at universityofreason.com/autonomy-VIP-summit-4. And I want to talk to you about what the purpose of that conference is a little bit, because you might just think, hey, there's a bunch of cool people and I'll go hear them talk. And on one layer, it's that these are productive people who are independent and in their own way fight the New World Order. However, there's a bigger picture. And you watch this show, right? And you have a long attention span. You're here for the bigger picture. In the freedom community, obviously, we experience a lot of censorship and absence of distribution capabilities and all sorts of stuff to hamstring anyone looking at reality and pointing out their contradictions and poking holes in their narrative, right? It's a rigged game. We in the freedom community, we know it. We're subject to it. You get demonetized, all these good things. What if we saw that as, yes, that's going on, and then we decided to do something about it? So in this case, we're going to premiere 4 or 5, at least, technology solutions that all go back toward the other side. The corporate, globalist, cartel people, like, we're fighting them with memes, and they're like trying to make memes illegal. So we have to up our game. We have to develop our own technology and federation and sharing capability, because we can't expect them to always give us space on their platforms going into the future where it's getting more tumultuous. So as a way of sandbagging our own positions and protecting ourselves from the flood that might be coming. See, you might have thought that was a Battlefield reference. Those sandbags are blocking floods too. Although if you have to block a flood, they have this new L bracket. You should check it out because it holds itself down with the water. It's brilliant. Anyway, sandbagging, marking our positions, making sure we can be defended against any flood of irrationality that might be coming through with this decloaking of communism that is illustrative, especially in the past week. And if you know the history of communism, I mean, they racked up the biggest body count of the 20th century. I mean, they make Hitler look like a kindergartner. Get it? Because kindergarten came from Germany. Anyway, VIP4 is where you're going to learn all about these things. This is where we're going to put all these solutions together. You're going to see a bunch of R&D. You're going to see things that are live and going on that you can take advantage of now and use for your protection and your edification as you view and listen and share freedom-oriented information. And that's about all I have to say about that. So it's September 4th or September 7th, and you can register on that site. And if you go to grandtheftworld.com on the front page, and you go up here, over here, and you click through, boom, 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 boom. Lots going on. We're getting into it. There it is. There it is. Saturday, September 7th, 2024. All you have to do is click on that, and it goes to that long URL. So you don't have to type it, right? All right. Register free. It's for everybody to learn, because we need to up the immune system of the freedom community. And you need to know about successful people doing other successful things and how they all do it differently, for a common interest, preserving liberty in our lifetime and making sure that the next generations of inhabitants and inheritors of this country and this planet have at least as much freedom as we were born with. And if we want to do that, we have to get back to zero, because we're less than zero right now on that scale. We have lost a lot of ground, especially since 9/11, in our realm of civil, domestic, and international rights. So without further ado, we can move on, but I just wanted to cover that.
Can I add something to that too?
Yeah, please do.
Before that, you were mentioning a series of things they're trying to take from us, steal from us. I would add to that list, they're trying to steal our attention. You know, our attention is like such a valuable commodity, and that is like the one thing that everybody is clamoring for, to take our attention away from us, and also to demoralize us. I have lots of conversations with people that feel lost, trapped, that don't have a sense of where things are going, and they kind of feel a sense of impending doom, and kind of feel the pressure, the weight of the helplessness of everything coming down, which can be an easy thing to fall into when you're talking about these topics, or kind of in the realm that we all are all the time. And I, my solution to that, my antidote to that is community, and then just finding ways to remove yourself from the matrix, for lack of a better word, and I feel so fortunate that I've been able to find myself down that path. And, I'll be talking about that at this summit, but it's like, for everybody that's out there, like if you're feeling that way, like when you get involved with either like the Grand Theft World community, or you join like these summits or Autonomy, like that's where you find community, you find your people. That's usually, from my experience, the missing piece that people are neglecting, because and for me, like with recovery, like being in recovery, like that is the number one thing that got me, after many attempts to get sober, that's what got me out of that life, was finally being willing to go put myself out there, show up to meetings, find new friends and community. You know what I mean? Like that is the solution to whatever, to what we're going through right now. And so, these offerings, whether it's Autonomy or the VIP Summit, or even just signing up as a member at grandtheftworld.com, like literally these are ways for you to find your people. And even if it's through the digital space, there are still ways to then take that into real life. Like at Unjected, we call it URL to IRL. So we encourage our followers to, host decentralized meetups, find a place, a time, location, send us a flyer, and we promote it. There was one in Houston on Friday, and I was getting emails from people flying from Colorado, from Vegas, to attend that Unjected meetup. You know what I mean? And it's like, the community aspect is so huge. And so, if you're feeling demoralized, if you're feeling like you're being taken from, if they're stealing it from you, you can take that power back and get into action and be your own, be your own proponent. And it always just involves just showing up. Like that's always the hardest part. Like just show up, and just the synergy of what happens out of like a meetup, whether online or in person, is just, that's literally the result of everything that I'm involved with right now, is from like showing up and like getting involved in communities outside of myself. That's 100% it. So take advantage.
Showing up's the first part. Even like to take the steps towards recovery in a situation, you got to show up for yourself, and you got to be able to meet other people. And it's other people who are going to say, I'm not going to let you disrespect yourself. And they'll be there to gently remind you that you're better than that. And all those good coaching, interactive things of uplifting and inspiring people to take on new habit sets. Right.
Yeah.
But like on the other side, I was thinking about like how you guys are flying all those people out, Unjected meetings and stuff like that. But it's a very low risk of monkeypox spreading at those types of things.
Exactly.
So,
well, we weren't flying people out. These were people going on their own volition.
They're flying to these events.
Oh yeah.
And I just thought like that's how monkeypox spread in the first place, with very different activity.
Very different activities, exactly.
With people with a very different mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like the opposite is what I was trying to point out.
Exactly. Good. Now
I was going for the negative association, like dissociation. You know,
no, I got you. I got you. I just want to make sure people didn't think that we were flying people out to these things. It's all
you don't
decentralized.
There's no Lolita Express or Jeffrey Epstein Airlines. It's the opposite of that.
100%. There was one other thing too in that last block of clips, the Mark Dice clip. He was talking about the one where Kamala was talking about closing down all of the detainee centers for the migrants, right?
Yeah.
Now I didn't catch it. Did he say that was an old clip, like from back in the day? I feel like he represented that as if it was like just this last week, but that was from like 2019.
But it was her talking like,
okay, totally. I just didn't catch if he clarified that because I don't want people thinking
it's still not done. Like she's in power as vice president, so she could do it now. She's not going to,
Totally.
It was just kind of illustrating that. And if you compare it to like the story we ran last week and a couple months ago about all the human trafficking and sex abuse in those systems that were being paid for by taxpayer dollars, and the Congress critters that were all whistleblowing on the situation and stuff like that. And then you could think back to that lady from Georgia.
Yeah.
She was a Congress critter, and she came out and said about all the sexual abuse going on. And then all of a sudden her and her husband had a murder suicide in the backyard, and it all went away. Glad there's not nefarious things like Danny Casolaro type, murder cover-ups going on in our country still. And those are something that's relegated to the 20th century and doesn't exist here in the 21st century. Maybe.
Totally.
I reserve the right to be updated on that situation.
Totally.
Also, I don't have any plans to commit suicide, so just get that on the record there.
No.
Accidents don't happen to me. I'm very meticulous and careful, so let's just stop all that stuff there.
Yes, I've got a lot of cool things coming up.
Conspiracy, and then I was watching Corbett's Requiem for the Suicided, Danny Casolaro, that I saw like, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago when he put it out, because I just watched the Netflix and I saw they re-released it on the unofficial Corbett over on YouTube, so I was checking that out, and it's amazing. I mean, I know there's limited source material, but it's amazing how Netflix's miniseries reflects that Corbett report in a variety of ways. I'm not saying they're starving for content at Netflix and might take something from colleagues of mine and make a show out of it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it would be hard to believe that the guy who made the movie never watched Corbett Report or caught that Requiem for the Suicided. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. And I'm also not suicidal. I have lots of really cool things coming up very soon. So there you go.
Twice a year, I teach a course called Autonomy. It's a 12-week course. It teaches leadership, entrepreneur skills, executive skills, all these types of things that I saw were taken out of our education system in order to make the schooling or indoctrination system that we've all probably went through. And it has served us well enough to be interchangeable cogs in the machine of the globalists. But if we want a homestead, if we want write our own ticket, work from home job, work from anywhere type of situation, they're not exactly handing those out at the end of college. They give you a piece of paper and they're like, good luck. So reality is dropping us off here, but the demands of reality are up here. So I created Autonomy to help people close that gap for themselves so they can level up their skills to the demands of the situations that life is putting in front of us presently. Life's demands of intellect and understanding precision and complexity are ever increasing. The schooling didn't prepare us for it. The media is not going to do anything but reinforce what schooling prepared us for. And so we're going to have to take a leadership position and take steps off the beaten path to kind of blaze our own trail in life.
What makes the Grand Theft World podcast unique, invigorating, exciting, and informative? Most other podcasts out there are either doing straight up interviews or they're just covering the daily news. They're covering current events from the day they happened. And that is effective. It's useful. It's a great starting point. And then sometimes these current events change during the week past the first story. So we like to give it a little time. You have to wait till some of the dust settles on these stories in order to give them accurate coverage. And the other thing that's really missing in the media landscape is covering the articles that are coming out every day. That's great. That's necessary. But who's bringing in contextual history so that you can understand what has been going on for decades and decades to lead up to the machinations and actions that we see unfolding today? So what we do here on the podcast is we cover current events. Many of these things are censored, but we wait about a week. As a forensic historian, I focused mainly through my career on the history of globalism and collectivism and things that they call maybe the New World Order.
There's a lot of facts to these sort of circumstances, groups, events, activities, working groups that they've had over time. So for Grand Theft World listeners, we not only break down the current events, most of which that are censored during the week, we provide you with contextual history, we give you the source notes, the references, we do deep dives, and this really empowers you with an understanding of context and history so that you can make more informed decisions in your life. There's also a community, a membership where you guys can actually ask questions and we can get into the show and we can share evidence. And there's a town hall weekly for Grand Theft World for those who listen to it and are interested in covering the stories that we don't get to during a 6-hour show. Listening to it an hour a day, you could easily consume the week's news, but you're going to have substance and meaning and context and understanding. And with that, you can make higher quality decisions in your life. So if you're interested in more quality in your life, go to grandtheftworld.com, click podcast at the top, and we'll see you there. Thank you.
These allegations are false.
This isn't Grand Theft Auto, folks. This isn't a video game.
What are the most surprising things that you discovered once you started pulling on that thread? Who he was connected to, what institutions he was influential over, what events he participated in?
Come on, man. What are we talking about? Come on, man. No.
You don't have to think about it, dude.
I got this quote because you said you didn't know much about Klaus Schwab. I made it my job to, as soon as this happened, I'm like, okay, this guy's their front man. Let me learn about the official history of the World Economic Forum. I got their 40-year history. I got every book that Klaus Schwab has written or ghostwritten. I went through those books. This is one of the most interesting passages.
Come on, man. Come